Welcome, guys. Welcome to the Service Rocket Media NGINX conference recap show. That's all very official. I thought we would get together briefly, guys, and talk about your experience at nginxconf. You guys just got back, and you were there most of last week, I think. Is that right?
That's correct.
Yep, from Tuesday to Thursday.
Yeah, very good. I can't wait to hear all about it. And for all of our viewers out there, I'm sure they can't wait to hear about it too. Can we start by introducing ourselves one at a time, and then we'll start in on the questions. So maybe Jacob, you go first.
All right. I'm Jacob. I'm a technical consultant at Service Rocket, and I also do a lot of training on the side.
You do training on the side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Hello, my name is James Tacker. I am a curriculum developer at Service Rocket. On the side, I don't do training, but I do photography. I take pictures, hence my Twitter name.
Very good. I am Bill Kashard. I am your host, and I am a runner, and I do some training and marketing on the side. So how about that?
Very good.
Okay. Yeah, so let's get into this. What were you guys doing at nginxconf in San Francisco last week?
On the first day, I was doing the training for the whole day. So in the morning, we did the NGINX fundamentals course, and in the afternoon, we did the NGINX advanced course. All right. The rest of the 2 days, I attended a lot of the sessions and talks that people were giving at the conference.
Okay. So you were there the whole time. Mm-hmm. Very good.
And I would say the first day my primary responsibility was bringing Jacob water because he was talking so much.
Oh, yeah.
No, but I was also going around the crowd, troubleshooting anyone's problems if they were having problems with their SSH or if they were having just NGINX problems in general. I was there along with some of the subject matter experts from NGINX to help troubleshoot those problems.
So Rick was there among several other of the support guys from NGINX?
Yeah, there were quite a few engineers from Russia who were there giving a hand, and then
cool.
A couple of people from the American office as well who have helped me out in the past on the summit trips.
Very good. Mm-hmm. How many people were in these two courses?
I would say at the most heads in seats or butts in seats was during the advanced course, I would say. Like, I think every seat was pretty much occupied. So how many do you think that would be, Jacob? Maybe 200 or 160, something like that?
If you saw a button, I would say there should be at least like 160 then for the advanced course.
Wow.
And I would say the fundamentals was slightly less, but mostly filled.
Yeah, I would say fundamentals 100, 130 or so.
Yeah.
So that is a big room of people. So I'd like to understand a little bit about how you guys prepared for that. Like, what was the anatomy of getting ready to be in a room in front of that many people to do a training course?
Getting ready was actually pretty easy. NGINX already had a lot of stuff set up, and then we put our boxes down that had our handouts. And then I went to get water or something, and when I came back, they were already putting stuff together, putting the machine IDs and passwords and usernames into the booklets and setting them out on the table. So they're just really on it, really helpful.
Yeah.
Other than that, I kind of took some deep breaths in order to prepare for to talk in front of that many people.
Was that the biggest crowd you've ever spoken in front of?
Yeah, definitely the biggest crowd I've ever spoken in front of. But in the end, it was pretty much the same, honestly, as doing it in front of a group of like 20 people. Just a lot more, just logistically, it was a little harder, but we had so much help from NGINX, they really made that quite a bit easier.
Yeah,
I would say the only problem Jacob really had in terms of teaching with that high student to teacher ratio is really just people couldn't hear each other. If someone had a question, Jacob would have to ask them to repeat themselves 3 times, and there was no mic for the students, and that might be something to be implemented next time.
For sure.
Yeah, that's a good lesson. But with the room that big, I mean, you need to have someone roaming the room, multiple people roaming the room with multiple microphones. I would guess.
That would have been very helpful. Yeah.
I mean, we were roaming. I and the other engineers were roaming, but I mean, we're just kind of playing telephone at that point.
I see.
Plus, they were still setting up for the next day. I think the setup crew for Fort Mason. So there was a lot of power tools. There was a sound of power tools that were kind of drowning out Jacob.
Yeah, that was kind of annoying.
So yeah, because that's a big warehouse, Fort Mason, right?
Yeah, I wasn't really expecting that. I don't know why. I guess I probably should have been expecting it, but it was just kind of loud, and it threw me off a little sometimes when it got like to a crescendo. But yeah,
especially when the workers were like screaming at each other, right, Jacob?
Huh?
Why'd you put that over there?
Oh, the workers.
Yeah.
They're screaming at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're talking loud. Basically, it's mostly someone sawing through metal.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's that like for the students? So they're all trying to pay attention to you.
I mean, they're just as affected by it as I am, right? They're trying to hear me. I can't hear myself when we're talking. I stumble in my words a little bit because I want to power through talking to them about this stuff, but at the same time, I kind of want to take a pause because there's construction and I don't want them to miss anything I'm going to say.
Did you guys hear any feedback at all about that from participants?
I didn't hear anything specifically with regards to the noise. I think we all just kind of pushed through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how does it work when you are handling 160 people and handling questions and sticking to the schedule and covering the material? How are you able to stay on schedule?
It was hard. We definitely went over, I think, by 30 minutes for each course. It's hard to keep on that schedule.
Yep.
We did our best, but most people are there for the training. People were there that day for the training, so they were willing to stay as long as they had to complete the training. So they didn't really mind at all.
Okay.
Some people probably felt frustrated that we were going kind of slow on the exercises, just because I was trying to make sure people could keep up, and that can be a little frustrating. So sometimes you just kind of have to press on.
Yes.
Even when people aren't done.
I think you were pretty fair though, because I only saw you kept asking how many people are done or how many people need a couple more minutes, and I think the ratio was if you saw 4 hands up out of 100, you're like, okay, guys, we have to move on.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I tried to do. Yeah.
Okay, so what about? I want to change the subject slightly. You've been teaching these NGINX courses. You've been going out on the road, teaching these courses in multiple cities. You also teach them online, but I'm curious about the top 2 or 3 things that people either struggle with when they're learning NGINX for the first time, or it's the 2 or 3 foundational things that people have to get over before they can really get it. Is there anything like that?
I'm trying to think of problems that people have when they're doing the training, and really it's just kind of the placement of what they're doing with exercises, like how where they're putting their files and such. And I think it really stems from, if you have trouble learning NGINX, it really stems from a lack of knowledge of how to use Linux, because that's really what stopped people from just being able to do the exercises pretty fluidly and along with the rest of the class. Because in general, most of the people in the class have a really excellent and very foundational knowledge of using a Linux operating system, using the command line. People who don't type a little slower, they don't know all the commands as well as maybe they should, or haven't done it in a while on an operating system, on an Ubuntu operating system. So they get a little flustered. Sometimes it takes a little more time. That's really the biggest thing I seem to notice.
Okay.
Other than that, people tend to grasp NGINX pretty quickly because it is really simple. And that's one of the beauties of NGINX.
Very good.
I concur. I think most people only ask questions during kind of idiosyncratic things, like they wanted to know more about variables or some kind of subtopic. But overall, I would say, at least from my personal experience, when I was doing ramp up for this curriculum development for NGINX, the biggest hurdle was indeed Unix, and the Unix command line. But NGINX, like to echo what Jacob said, it's so simple. It's very fluid. It's the syntax just makes sense.
Yeah,
at least relatively. So yeah, I agree. It's Unix. That's the big. If I had to give someone a recommendation, walking into NGINX, study up on your Unix command line first.
Ah, that's good. I guess for a surgeon, surgery is simple too.
Yeah, that's why I had to throw in relative, because I was catching myself like, well, it's not simple in a unanimous or like universal sense.
Yep.
But
so James, your primary skill is developing courses. So as you're sitting in observing this, what goes through your mind as a designer of training on how a course should be designed, how these particular courses could be improved or changed? How do you approach sitting in on a class like this?
Well, if I could draw a comparison to designing good software, it's kind of the same with designing a good course. You just need to have the user or the student in mind when you're designing it. And to sit there and watch Jacob teach the course and see the feedback from the students, like both verbally and non-verbally, because you can tell when someone's visibly frustrated or bored or whatnot. It's just, where the pain points are, and you can just kind of anticipate them when you're developing the course, or when you go back to the drawing board for the course. So that's what we're going to hope to do with our new courses. We learned a couple things. Jacob and I are actually going to meet with some of the people from NGINX. I believe you said it was Patrick, right, Jacob?
Yeah,
you want
Patrick, and anyone else you might want to join the meeting.
Yeah. So we're going to ask them any ideas they can throw at us to help improve the course. And it's kind of like it's a recurring theme. We just need to keep improving. Like much like with iterative software design, it's iterative course design. You just keep improving it over time.
Yep.
And I think sitting there and actually being there physically gives you a lot of context.
Yes. Certainly better than just reading feedback surveys third hand a week later and trying to figure out and make sense of all that.
Yeah, it's very less human.
Yes. Okay, so you guys stayed for the entire conference. I assume you went to sessions. Jacob, you said you did.
Yeah.
Did you go to sessions too, James?
Yes, I went to some with Jacob, and then we kind of tag teamed and went to separate ones sometimes. Okay,
cool. So what was the favorite session for each of you?
I have two. The one where Shannon was talking about NGINX for developers, that was kind of cool. And then my second favorite one just gave me ideas for the course I'm working on, and it was how to optimize your load balancer on an edge network. I think that's what it was called. I can't remember the title, but it just gave me a lot of ideas for the performance and networking course.
Yeah, that must be a hot topic, right? Performance tuning.
Yeah, allegedly, once the course is finished, it should be very popular because there's a high demand for it.
Yeah, I think it will definitely become one of our most popular courses once that course is done.
So no pressure on me, right?
No, you'll be fine.
Yep, James. Well, at least we haven't already sold the course before we've developed it.
Yeah, that would put even more pressure. Bill could do that to you,
We have
they might, and then I'll sit there and I'll sleep in the office basically.
Because James, we have done that.
We should make service rocket sleeping bags and air mattress,
and have a room in the office where they just are.
We do. We have those bean bags.
Instead of the launch pad, it could be called like the nap pad.
I made a fort out of those bean bags once to do some audio recording in there. It worked out pretty well.
Well, that's
very MacGyverish and mature.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whatever
sounds
works.
Disturbing. Jacob, what was your favorite session?
My favorite session was probably Rick's demo. So Rick Nelson is, I think he's an engineer. He has some other title, but he's basically an NGINX engineer. And he had this demo that he did essentially where basically he was synthetically generating traffic on a site, basically hitting his site, and he was automatically spinning up NGINX virtual servers. And with those virtual servers would then take over some of that traffic. So basically it was load balancing on the fly, spinning up these new servers as traffic increased on that site, which was really neat to see.
Wow.
And just cool. Kind of automating that was the cool part about that, because he wrote the script for it, and then he could leave it alone. And as more people or as more pings to the site were created, then more servers spun up. And even when the traffic went down, servers went down as well. So you weren't wasting resources by keeping them up all the time, which was really cool to see. It was just very dynamic, and it gave me some cool ideas on just how to use NGINX, and definitely want to replicate it and possibly show us that in our own classes.
He put that in front of a Docker container, didn't he?
Yeah, so basically what he was doing was he used Siege to generate that traffic. He used NGINX Plus to do the on-the-fly reconfiguration, so to bring up those servers. But then those servers were essentially spun up using Docker containers.
That's nice.
Wow, it beats going into the server room and slide in a Blade server, plugging it in with a wire. All right, John, I'm ready.
That's probably interesting, right?
Yeah. That's all beyond me. That's pretty cool. What were some other cool things you guys saw at sessions?
We saw the creator of NGINX, Igor Sisoyev, talk for a couple of sessions. He really introduced some new things that NGINX is releasing or has released or is planning on releasing very soon. And one of those things is NGINX script or engine script, which is what he's doing is embedding JavaScript into the NGINX configuration language, which is awesome. So we'll soon be able to use NGINX or JavaScript in the NGINX configuration scripts.
Wow, JavaScript is moving to the server, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, with Node as well?
Yeah, so Node is definitely another option as for an application server or as a web server, mostly as a web server.
I see.
Yeah.
James, what about you? Anything else cool that you saw?
Jacob stole mine. Mine was engine script, but I think there was another one that was introduced. What was that? Ambient? Was it what it was called?
Amplify.
Amplify. That's right. Why did I think it was ambient? Yeah, NGINX Amplify was pretty cool.
You're getting sleepy. You're getting sleepy.
Yeah, ambient, right? So that was another cool thing. I can't remember off the top of my head the details of it, but it's in the blog I wrote. If anyone wants to check that out.
You wrote
and the HTTP2 implementation.
Yeah, HTTP2. It's a big thing. It's the next new thing. Yeah.
That's the next new thing.
The next. I mean, it's already out actually, but NGINX has released a patch and an NGINX Plus version, so you can start using NGINX to serve content over HTTP2 instead of HTTP or HTTPS. So you can kind of do some comparisons on hosting your application server on NGINX over HTTP2.
Yeah,
kind of check out the performance differences between those three, really.
That's cool.
And I think because NGINX is so fast as it already is, and with multiplexing with HTTP2, it'll be even faster. That's the theory anyway.
They say speed kills.
Yep.
Watch out.
Well, actually, you remember when you saw I think Igor put up a graph, or someone put up a graph of how HTTP2 compares to the performance of HTTP and HTTPS, and it's actually right in the middle. So it has all these same encryption and security as SSL, but it's faster and is designed to be a better protocol, essentially all around better.
Yeah.
So it's slower than HTTP by itself, but I like it.
Very good. So speaking of that, you guys are working. Speaking of performance, you guys are working on a training course for performance tuning. Is there any other? So of all the stuff you learn, is there a topic that people are going to need to learn, and that might be useful to have a class on?
I mean, potentially all of this, all of these.
I mean, Docker is a big one, but I think Docker implementation, and because everyone was talking about it at the conference, containers are a big deal, and I think Johnny too is going to develop a Docker implementation with NGINX course.
There you go.
I believe sometime this quarter. It'll come out probably around the same time as the NGINX and tuning performance course.
That's cool.
That'll be cool. Yeah. To kind of teach those classes in tandem.
Yeah, that's very cool. And I hear Jacob is going to create course deploying Jira on Docker or using it as a caching, using using nginx as a cacher for Jira. Is that right?
So I was thinking we could basically serve or serve requests to Jira using nginx as a front end proxy cache. So use it as a reverse proxy cache. It would cache all the content from Jira and potentially speed up the performance of your Jira requests. So that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, performance on Jira is a hot topic too. There's a lot of talks on that at the summit this year in November.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. All right. So, were there any either key takeaways from nginxconf that you guys have, or are there 2 or 3 things that you saw that you said, I'm going to start doing that next week? Is there anything like that?
So some of the stuff like Amplify is kind of out in the future, and I would really want to create it because Amplify is a metric. It's a nginx server monitoring software to compete with New Relic and Datadog a little bit. But it's for open source, and it measures how nginx is affecting your system, your server system, which is pretty cool. So I really wanted to get on that, and I signed up for their beta, and hopefully they'll give me a response soon because I would love to test that out.
All right, that's cool.
Yep.
How about you, James?
Just that containers are a really big deal, and engine script will be really cool, especially for me since I have a JavaScript background. So that'll be interesting to see what I can play with once they finally deploy that. I think it's in alpha stage right now, but once we get some patches for that, that'll be cool.
Very cool. Okay, so last question for Jacob. Where are you going next on your NGINX training road show?
So I'm going to Austin, Texas next. I'll be there on October 21st.
Okay, and what courses will you be teaching there?
I'll just be teaching the fundamental course. So on all these summit trips, it's just the fundamentals course in the morning, and then the afternoon we have a meetup essentially and a talk. Lots of talks.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
So how is nginx positioning these summits in addition to nginxconf, and how they're distinguishing them? Because nginx is going all over the place practically every month on a mini conference.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, nginxconf was just bigger. I mean, It had the full day of training with fundamentals and advanced, and then it had 2 days of breakout sessions. And the whole day was packed with big talks. And these summits, I just do a training in the morning, and then we have I think the minimum was like 3 talks in the afternoon. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's 3. So they're smaller, and they're really just for people to meet up, take the training if they want to in the morning, and then there's just a good networking opportunity afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It was a really big platform for other people to share their ideas.
Mm-hmm.
We met a bunch of people from other companies. Like we met a guy from Red Hat. We met guys from Docker, Ansible, and they were all there to just kind of like share their ideas and talk about NGINX, talk about their own platform.
Very cool.
So it was cool.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me today. This was kind of fun, and learned a lot about what you guys are doing at nginxconf. That's very good.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
You bet. So Jacob, James from Service Rocket, thank you. And this is Bill Cushard from Service Rocket Media signing off. Until next time.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Talk to you guys later.
Later, guys.
See you.